Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into one of India's most baffling and, frankly, twisted true crime mysteries. It's a case that has left local police, seasoned medical professionals, and even federal investigators completely stunned. Today, we're going to break down the timeline, look at some really wild forensic anomalies, and explore the ultimate conclusions, or, well, the lack thereof, and the incredibly tragic story of Sanam Hasan. Okay, let's dive right into this with the single most impossible question at the very center of this case. How exactly does a 19-year-old biological female end up with a biological male's heart beating in her chest? And get this, with absolutely zero surgical scars to indicate a transplant. I know, it sounds like science fiction, right? But this was the exact medical anomaly that plunged a standard investigation into absolute chaos. So to understand how we even got to this bizarre question, we need to step back.
Section 1. The Fateful Birthday Party. Profiling Sanam.
Before we get into the grim details of the investigation, we really have to talk about the victim. You know, behind every case file is a real human being. And Sanam Hasan was just 19 years old. She had recently moved from Mumbai over to Pune to study fashion design and was in her second year. What really stands out about Sanam is her incredible drive. Her family was financially comfortable, yet she was absolutely determined to be independent. She even worked a part-time job at an Aldo showroom in the Phoenix complex just to earn her own money. And on top of her studies and work, she was a dedicated athletic football player. By all accounts, she was incredibly fit, super healthy, and making her parents exceptionally proud of the young woman she was becoming.
So let's walk through the timeline of October 2nd, 2012. This was Sanam's 19th birthday. During the day, it's pure joy. Her parents traveled all the way from Mumbai to Pune, and they spend the whole day together, eating, celebrating, just really enjoying family time. That night, Sanam heads out to a birthday party organized by her Aldo co-worker, Monish Vijay. This is at a friend's flat about 8 kilometers from her parents' hotel. But then, the timeline takes a really dark turn. Fast forward to 8 a.m. the very next morning, October 3rd. Monish frantically calls Sanam's parents, telling them she is severely ill and they need to rush to the hospital immediately. By the time her terrified parents actually arrive, it's already too late. Sanam is pronounced dead.
Section 2. A bizarre medical mystery, the autopsy.
Going from a happy, celebratory dinner to identifying your daughter's body the very next morning, that is unimaginable trauma. When the police sent Sanam's body for an autopsy, the report revealed several deeply troubling details. First off, there was a massive overdose of alcohol in her system, which they said triggered a fatal heart attack. Second, forensic teams recovered semen samples from her body. This indicated she had been physically intimate before her death, though, it wasn't immediately clear if this was consensual or an assault. But then came the finding that literally brought the entire investigation to a screeching halt. When examining her heart proteins, doctors discovered the heart inside Sanam's chest belonged to a biological male. Again, she had no surgical marks. It was an absolute biological impossibility.
Section 3. 17 suspects, 0 matches.
Facing a literal medical impossibility and a potential homicide, the police realized they had a massive puzzle on their hands, and they desperately needed DNA. So they cast a wide net. They brought in exactly 17 individuals who were present at that fateful birthday party. This group included her college friends and her colleagues from the Aldo showroom. Every single one of them was interrogated, and every single one of them was forced to provide a DNA sample to check against the forensic evidence they found on Sanam's body.
So the crucial point here is, not a single one of those 17 DNA samples was a match. 0. Absolutely nothing. Even Monish Vijay, the colleague who hosted the party, the guy who put Sanam to bed when she felt sick, and the one who called her parents the next morning, he was completely cleared by the DNA test. The police were looking at 17 suspects, all of them present at the scene, and none of them matched the physical evidence. The case hit a massive, incredibly frustrating brick wall.
Section 4. The CBI investigation. Uncovering the truth. Let's move to 2014 and see how this builds. For 2 painful years, the local police just spun their wheels with no leads. Finally, the case was handed over to the CBI, who took a highly structured, 3-step approach. First, they went back and re-interviewed all 17 attendees, rigorously re-examining those DNA reports, though sadly, this still yielded no new matches. Second, they decided to dig into the hospital where the initial autopsy took place to try and solve the mystery of this male heart. And third, when all else failed, they took the drastic and incredibly solemn step of exhuming Sanam's body in 2016 for secondary testing.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the brilliant deduction the CBI made regarding that male heart. They realized they weren't looking at some medical miracle. Actually, scratch that. They were looking at staggering medical negligence. Through their investigation, the CBI found out that on the exact day of Sanam's autopsy, there were 4 other bodies being examined in that same mortuary. Furthermore, the hospital staff had completely failed to follow the mandatory protocol of videotaping the autopsies. The CBI concluded that during this chaotic, unrecorded process, the doctors just completely mixed up the organs. The male heart wasn't growing inside Sanam. It was accidentally swapped into her file by negligent medical staff.
Section 5. An unsolved, tragic lesson. While solving the mystery of the swapped heart provided some procedural clarity, it unfortunately brought investigators no closer to finding out who was actually responsible. Today, we're left with 2 really heavy realities. On one side, you have Sanam's parents. They firmly point out that their daughter was an athletic football player who never touched alcohol. They believe with all their hearts that she was forced to drink, assaulted, and ultimately murdered at that party. On the other side, you have the objective reality of the CBI investigation. Despite interrogating colleagues, analyzing backgrounds for motives like jealousy or revenge, and even exhuming the body, they found 0 forensic or circumstantial evidence to definitively pin a crime on a primary suspect. Because that 2016 exhumation totally failed to provide the breakthrough DNA or toxicological evidence they needed, the CBI was at a complete dead end. Today, the death of Sanam Hasan remains officially unsolved. It just sits in the archives of Indian criminal history as a deeply frustrating tragedy. It's a case where investigators just couldn't definitively prove if it was an accidental overdose or a calculated murder. And this brilliantly illustrates the much broader takeaway we have to draw from this case. Beyond all the true crime intrigue, this is a story about a young person away from home in an environment that ultimately cost her her life. Experts and advocates reviewing this case always point to a singular, absolutely critical lesson for families. Build a relationship where your children can share anything without fear. Knowing who your young adults are spending their time with and ensuring they feel completely safe calling you the moment a situation feels out of control, that is absolutely paramount.
So, as we wrap up our analysis of this truly baffling mystery, I want to leave you with this final, vital question to think about. What steps are you taking today to ensure fearless communication with the young adults in your life? It's a sobering thought for sure, but one that might just make all the difference. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the important questions.